I never imagined my perfect relationship would unravel over a confession at dinner. 3 years with Jessica, my beautiful fiancée, felt like a fairy tale until she dropped the bombshell about her feelings for Adam, her longtime crush. The engagement ring on her finger suddenly felt like a hollow promise as she asked to explore these feelings before our wedding. Trust and honesty were always our foundation, but that night, everything I believed about us crumbled. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from and hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever had to fight for someone you love. I met Jessica at my friend Tyler's backyard barbecue 3 summers ago. She was standing by the cooler laughing at something someone had said, and I was immediately drawn to her. There was something magnetic about her smile and the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her job as an interior designer. We spent the entire evening in conversation, discovering shared interests in hiking, true crime documentaries, and a weird obsession with breakfast food at any time of day. By the end of the night, I knew I had to see her again. I asked for her number, and our first date happened just 3 days later at a small Italian restaurant downtown. The connection between us was undeniable. Conversation flowed effortlessly, and I found myself opening up about things I rarely shared with anyone, let alone someone I had just met. Our relationship progressed naturally from there. Weekend dates turned into weeknight sleepovers. My apartment became our apartment after 1 year together. Jessica brought warmth and color to my previously bachelor pad, transforming it into a real home. We complemented each other perfectly. Her spontaneity balanced my planning nature, and my steadiness grounded her when she needed it. When I decided to propose, I wanted it to be special but not elaborate. Jessica always said she loved simple, meaningful moments over grand gestures. I chose a quiet evening at sunset on Crescent Beach where we had spent many happy days together. I had the ring in my pocket for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. That evening, as the sky turned brilliant shades of orange and pink, I got down on one knee and asked her to spend her life with me. Her eyes filled with tears as she nodded yes, unable to speak through her emotion. When she finally composed herself, she whispered, "I have been waiting for this moment since our third date." We celebrated with champagne on the beach before calling our families with the news. Life as an engaged couple was blissful at first. We both had good jobs, a nice apartment, supportive friends and families excited about our upcoming wedding. We started planning for our future together, discussing everything from the wedding venue to how many children we might want someday. But about 6 months after our engagement, I began noticing subtle changes in Jessica. She became more distant, spending increased time on her phone, smiling at text messages, but quickly turning the screen away when I entered the room. When I asked about it, she would say it was just work or friends, nothing important. I tried not to let my mind wander to dark places. I trusted Jessica completely and believed in our relationship. Still, something felt off, like a subtle shift in our foundation that I could sense but not quite identify. Then came our 3-year anniversary dinner, the night that would change everything. I had made reservations at Malone's, an upscale steakhouse Jessica had been wanting to try. I bought her a silver bracelet with our initials engraved on the inside and was excited to celebrate another year together. But from the moment we sat down at our table, I could tell something was wrong. Jessica seemed distracted, checking her phone repeatedly and barely maintaining conversation. I asked her several times if everything was okay, and she kept insisting it was, though her behavior suggested otherwise. After our main courses arrived, she set down her fork, took a deep breath, and said the words that would begin the unraveling of our life together. "Dayton, I need to tell you something, and I need you to really listen." My stomach dropped, but I nodded, trying to appear calmer than I felt. "You know my friend Adam from college," she began. I did know of him. She mentioned him occasionally, though I had never met him in person. "Well, we have been reconnecting recently, and I realized that I still have feelings for him." I sat there, food forgotten, as she explained that Adam had been her crush throughout college, but the timing had never worked out for them. Either she was dating someone, or he was studying abroad. They had remained friends, but there had always been this unspoken attraction. "I thought those feelings were gone," she continued, not quite meeting my eyes. "But seeing him again recently has brought everything back, and I cannot ignore it." Then came the request that felt like a physical blow. I need to explore these feelings before we get married, Dayton. I need to know if what Adam and I might have is real or if it is just unfinished business from the past. I remember staring at her, searching for signs that this was some kind of sick joke. The engagement ring I had saved for months to buy glinted on her finger as she nervously twisted it. You want to what I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. You want permission to date another man. While wearing my ring, Jessica reached for my hand, but I pulled away. It is not like that, she insisted. I just need clarity. I love you, Dayton, but these feelings for Adam are confusing me. Would not you rather I sort this out now than have doubts after we are married? The remainder of dinner was tense and uncomfortable. I could barely eat, and the bracelet box remained unopened in my pocket. We drove home in silence, the weight of her confession filling the car like a physical presence. Once home, the real argument began. I asked her how she would feel if I suddenly wanted to explore feelings for another woman. She claimed it was different, that Adam was part of her past, someone she had history with. So you have been seeing him already, I questioned, pieces starting to fall into place. The mysterious text messages, the sudden work commitments that kept her out late, her emotional distance. We have just been talking, she said defensively. Having coffee, catching up, but something in her tone made me suspicious. While she was in the shower, I did something I had never done before. I looked at her phone. What I found confirmed my worst fears. There were dozens of messages between her and Adam, many of them flirtatious, some making references to times they had already spent together, clearly without my knowledge. When I confronted her with this evidence, her defense quickly turned to offense. You went through my phone. How could you invade my privacy like that? She demanded completely, sidestepping the fact that she had been lying to me. How could you lie to my face? I countered. You said you were just starting to reconnect, but these messages go back months. Jessica's expression hardened. This is exactly why I need space to figure things out. You are controlling and suspicious. Adam trusts me. Adam does not have to trust you because Adam is not engaged to you, I said, feeling my heart breaking with each word. I am your fiancée, Jessica. Of course I trusted you until you gave me reason not to. The argument circled for hours, getting nowhere. Finally, Jessica delivered an ultimatum that left me reeling. Either you accept that I need to explore these feelings for Adam, or our relationship is over. I cannot marry you with these doubts. I went to bed alone that night, listening to Jessica, talking in hushed tones on the phone in our living room, presumably with Adam. I felt like I was living in a nightmare I could not wake up from. The weeks that followed were some of the darkest of my life. Jessica began openly spending time with Adam while I fell into a deep depression. Friends noticed the change in me, asking what was wrong, but I found it difficult to explain the humiliation of my situation. How do you tell people that your fiancé is essentially dating another man with your reluctant permission? I questioned everything about myself and our relationship. What had I done wrong? Was I not attentive enough, not exciting enough? The self-doubt was crippling. I lost weight, had trouble sleeping, and struggled to focus at work. Meanwhile, Jessica's behavior became increasingly disrespectful. She would come home late without explanation, lie about where she had been, and spend our evenings together distracted by her phone. Any attempts to discuss our relationship were met with irritation and accusations that I was not giving her the space she needed. In my desperation to save our relationship, I tried everything. I planned romantic surprises, reminisced about our best times together, even suggested couples counseling. Jessica would momentarily soften, making me think there was hope, only to pull away again the next day. One evening, while organizing our spare room, I found a shoebox containing ticket stubs and photos from a weekend trip Jessica had claimed was a girl's getaway with her friend Tara. The photos told a different story, Jessica and Adam at a beachside resort, clearly intimate and romantic. The discovery sent me into a tailspin. I confronted her when she got home, and for once she could not deny the evidence. Instead, she tried to minimize it. It was just a weekend away, to clear my head, she insisted. Nothing serious happened, but her defensiveness and the intimate nature of the photos suggested otherwise. Our argument escalated until neighbors could probably hear us. Jessica stormed out saying she needed air, likely heading straight to Adam. 2 days later came another devastating blow. I was meeting my friend Marcus for dinner to distract myself from my crumbling relationship. We decided on La Fontaine, a French bistro that had been a favorite date spot for Jessica and me. As the hostess led us to our table, I froze. There, in a cozy corner booth, were Jessica and Adam holding hands across the table and looking deeply into each other's eyes. I stood there unable to move until Jessica noticed me. The flash of guilt on her face quickly gave way to annoyance at being caught. Marcus put a hand on my shoulder, offering to leave. But something in me snapped. I approached their table. "So this is working late," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the storm inside me. Adam had the decency to look uncomfortable, but Jessica just seemed irritated by the interruption. "Dayton, you are making a scene," she hissed. "We can talk about this at home, like we talked about the beach trip, or all the other lies," I replied loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "You know what? Enjoy your dinner, enjoy each other." I walked out, ignoring Jessica calling my name. Marcus followed, supportive, but clearly shocked by what he had witnessed. Word of the public confrontation spread quickly through our social circle. People began taking sides, with most of our mutual friends sympathizing with me, but a few defending Jessica's right to be sure about our relationship. The final revelation came when I was doing laundry and found a hotel receipt in Jessica's jacket pocket. The date coincided with a night she claimed to have stayed at her sister's place after a supposed argument with her brother-in-law. The receipt was for a king room at the luxury hotel downtown with champagne and breakfast for $2 charged to the room. This was no longer about exploring feelings or getting clarity. This was a full-blown affair, and I had been allowing it to happen while desperately trying to save a relationship that Jessica had already abandoned. That hotel receipt was my breaking point. I spread the evidence across our dining table: the receipt, the beach, photos, screenshots of text messages, everything that proved Jessica's betrayal. Then I waited for her to come home. When she walked in, her expression shifted from surprise to defensive anger as she saw what I had laid out. "So you have been spying on me again," she began, but I cut her off. "No more gaslighting, Jessica. No more making me feel crazy for questioning you when I knew something was wrong. This ends now." For the first time, she seemed to realize the gravity of the situation. Her initial denials gave way to a partial confession, as the evidence made lying impossible. "Okay, yes. Adam and I have been seeing each other, but it is not what you think," she claimed. I was confused and needed to understand my feelings. What came next cut deeper than any previous betrayal. Jessica began comparing Adam to me, listing ways she found him more exciting, more ambitious, more attentive to her needs. "He listens to me in a way you never have," she said. "He makes me feel alive." When I pointed out that our 3-year relationship and engagement suggested I had been doing something right, she pivoted to blaming me. "You pushed me toward him by being so controlling," she argued, "by questioning me constantly, by not trusting me." In that moment, something inside me shifted. The fog of pain and confusion cleared, and I saw with perfect clarity what I needed to do. I deserved better than this. Better than someone who would betray me, lie to my face, and then blame me for her actions. "I want you out," I said calmly, surprising even myself. "This is over." Jessica's expression changed, from defensive to shocked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, our relationship is done. The engagement is off. I want you to leave." "You cannot just throw away 3 years because I made a mistake," she protested, suddenly backpedaling. "This was not a mistake," I replied. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or saying something hurtful in an argument. This was a deliberate choice you made every day for months." Her protests escalated, but my resolve remained firm. The next day, while Jessica was out, presumably with Adam, I packed her personal belongings into suitcases and boxes. I left her engagement ring on top with a note that simply read, "You are free to be with Adam now. That is what you wanted." Then I called a locksmith and had the locks changed, contacted a lawyer about our lease and shared possessions, and informed our landlord about the situation. When Jessica returned that evening, and found herself locked out. Her reaction was not what I expected. Suddenly, the woman who had been pulling away for months was desperate to talk to me. My phone exploded with calls and texts ranging from angry accusations to tearful pleas. "You cannot do this to me," she screamed through the door. "Let me in so we can talk about this." I remained silent, sitting on our couch, both devastated and strangely empowered by my decision. The next day, Jessica showed up at my workplace, creating a scene in the lobby. She was crying, telling anyone who would listen that I had thrown her out without warning, conveniently omitting the months of betrayal that led to this moment. My colleague Jordan helped me escape through a side exit while security escorted Jessica from the building. That night she returned to our apartment with Adam, apparently thinking his presence would somehow help her case. "Tell Dayton this is ridiculous," she demanded of him. "Tell him we can all be adults about this." Adam looked deeply uncomfortable, clearly not expecting to be dragged into this confrontation. "Maybe you should give him some space," he suggested to Jessica, further inflaming her anger. Their relationship, it seemed, was not as perfect as Jessica had imagined when it was no longer a secret affair but a public drama. With my decision made, I found a new sense of calm and determination. The painful fog lifted, and I began executing my plan to reclaim my dignity and my life. My first step was taking control of the narrative. Rather than letting Jessica spin the story to make herself the victim, I spoke openly with our mutual friends about what had really happened. I did not embellish or exaggerate. The truth was damning enough. I showed select trusted friends the evidence of her months-long deception. Word spread quickly. Jessica's family, who had welcomed me warmly and considered me part of their family, were particularly devastated. Her sister Melissa called me apologizing for unwittingly being part of Jessica's alibis when she claimed to be staying over. "I had no idea," Melissa said tearfully. "She told us you two were having problems and needed space. I never would have covered for her if I knew what was really happening." Jessica's social standing took a significant hit as people learned the truth. Friends who had initially supported her need to explore withdrew that support when they realized the extent of her deception. Invitations to social events dried up, and she lost the sympathy she had been cultivating. Meanwhile, Adam's true character was revealed. A mutual acquaintance informed me that Adam had been seeing multiple women simultaneously, including Jessica. She was not the special connection he had led her to believe, but one of several ongoing flirtations. When Jessica discovered this, she was humiliated. The fairy tale romance she had thrown away our relationship for turned out to be a mirage. Adam, confronted with her emotional demands, quickly backed away, not interested in the drama or commitment. Suddenly, finding herself without her fiancé, with a tarnished reputation and abandoned by her supposed soulmate Jessica, became desperate to reconcile with me. The woman who had been so eager to explore other options was now insistent that I was her true love after all. Her attempts at reconciliation ranged from pathetic to manipulative. There were tearful phone calls, handwritten letters of apology slipped under my door, and even enlisted mutual friends to plead her case. When those methods failed, she tried showing up at places she knew I would be creating awkward situations that only reinforced my decision to end things. Through it all, I maintained my boundaries. "We are done, Jessica," I would say calmly. "Please respect that and move on." While she spiraled, I focused on rebuilding. I threw myself into a gym routine, shedding the weight I had lost from stress and replacing it with muscle. I started therapy to process the betrayal and understand why I had allowed myself to be treated so poorly for so long. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during the worst of the relationship drama and took up new hobbies that Jessica had never been interested in. My apartment, once filled with her things and her taste, was redecorated to reflect only me. It was a physical manifestation of reclaiming my space and my identity outside of our relationship. 6 weeks after our breakup, Jessica made one final grand gesture. She showed up at my apartment with a huge bouquet of my favorite flowers, a handmade scrapbook of our relationship, and a new engagement ring. She got down on one knee in a gender-reverse proposal, swearing she had made the biggest mistake of her life and begging me to take her back. "I will never look at another man again," she promised through tears. Adam meant nothing. You are everything to me." Looking at her kneeling there, I felt nothing but pity. The woman I had once wanted to spend my life with now seemed like a stranger or worse, someone I knew all too well and no longer respected. "No, Jessica," I said firmly. "I wish you happiness, but it will not be with me. We are done." As she left defeated, I learned from a mutual friend that Adam had already moved on to dating their yoga instructor. Jessica had truly lost everything in her quest for something that was never real in the first place. The months after the breakup were not easy, despite my outward strength. There were lonely nights and moments of doubt, wondering if I had been too harsh or if I should have fought harder for the relationship. Therapy helped me recognize these thoughts as the residue of manipulation, not genuine regret. My therapist, Diana, helped me process the complex emotions of betrayal and loss, teaching me to distinguish between missing the actual relationship and missing the idea of what I thought we had. She also helped me identify patterns from my past that had made me vulnerable to accepting unacceptable behavior. "You deserve someone who chooses you every day," Diana would remind me, "not someone who sees you as a backup plan." Gradually, I rebuilt my social life. Some mutual friends drifted away, unable to navigate the post-breakup dynamics, but my true friends remained steadfast. I reconnected with old college buddies I had lost touch with during my relationship with Jessica, finding comfort in these uncomplicated friendships. I discovered new interests that became genuine passions. I joined a rock climbing gym, something I had always wanted to try, but Jessica had dismissed as too dangerous. I took cooking classes and found joy in creating elaborate meals, just for myself, a form of self-care I had neglected. Work became a positive focus rather than just a distraction. I threw myself into new projects, earning recognition, and eventually a promotion that had previously seemed out of reach. My boss noted that I seemed more confident and engaged than ever before. 8 months after the breakup, I unexpectedly met Kate at a friend's book club. She was smart, funny, and refreshingly direct. When she laughed, it was genuine and uninhibited. We started talking about the book, then moved on to other topics, losing track of time until we realized we were the last 2 people at the event. Unlike my headlong rush into intimacy with Jessica, Kate and I built a friendship first. We enjoyed each other's company without expectations or pressure. I was honest with her about my recent heartbreak, and she shared her own story of a difficult divorce 2 years prior. There was a mutual understanding of the caution we both felt about new relationships. As our connection deepened, I realized how different it felt from what I had experienced with Jessica. Kate was consistently honest, even when the truth was uncomfortable. She respected my boundaries and established clear ones of her own. Most importantly, I never felt the need to check her phone or question her whereabouts. Trust came naturally because her words and actions always aligned. Almost a year after the breakup, I ran into Jessica at a coffee shop downtown. She looked tired and unhappy, the confident glow I had once been attracted to now dimmed. We acknowledged each other with awkward nods. As I waited for my order, she approached me. "You look good, Dayton," she said, her voice smaller than I remembered. "Thanks," I replied, surprised to feel absolutely nothing beyond mild curiosity about how she was doing. "I am still sorry about everything," she continued. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." I nodded, accepting her apology without offering reconciliation. "I hope you are doing well, Jessica." As I walked away with my coffee, I realized I was truly free from the emotional hold she once had on me. The woman who had once been the center of my world was now just someone I used to know. My relationship with Kate continued to grow naturally and healthily. We took things slowly, meeting each other's friends only after 3 months, discussing exclusivity explicitly, rather than assuming it, and communicating openly about our fears and expectations. The contrast between my relationships with Jessica and Kate made me realize how much I had compromised and excused in my previous relationship. With Kate, I never felt anxious or insecure. I never found myself making excuses for her behavior or questioning my own worth. Instead, I felt valued, respected, and genuinely loved for exactly who I was. One evening, as Kate and I prepared dinner together in my apartment, she asked about Jessica's ring. "Did you ever get it back from her?" "No," I admitted. She kept it, which is fine. I do not want anything connected to that relationship anymore. Kate nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. Sometimes clean breaks are best. Looking at her chopping vegetables in my kitchen, comfortable and content, I felt profound gratitude for the painful journey that had led me to this moment. Had Jessica not betrayed me, I might never have found the courage to demand the respect and honesty I deserved in a relationship. I might never have met Kate. In the end, putting Jessica where she belonged meant removing her from my life and heart, completely making space for something genuine and healthy to grow. It meant standing up for myself and recognizing my own worth. It meant understanding that sometimes losing someone is the greatest win of all. Have you ever had to make the difficult decision to walk away from someone you loved? How did you find the strength to put yourself first? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life lessons learned the hard way. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the greatest act of love is the one you show yourself.